Okay, thank you everybody for coming, for being here, for participating. My name is Shane Hughes and I work with the Transition Network. And today I'm going to talk about a network of networks. What does it mean? What would it do? How would it operate? What would be its objectives? Unfortunately, I have no idea. I have no plan. And the reality is, that's because I'm no expert in this. I'm part of a network. Some of you guys are part of networks too. And the reality is, the collective intelligence in this room is where the expertise exists. And we are now in the era of communities, as Wishes says, but we're also in the era of collective intelligence. So we have to be trying to experiment with extracting that collective intelligence and turning that into productivity, turning that intelligence into action. So part of my talk is going to be me talking. I'm going to introduce the Transition Network. I'm going to talk a little bit about some networks. But the other half of this kind of talk is going to be a social experiment where you guys, essentially, it's down to you lot. It's up to you to make this a success. I'll try my best, but it's up to you guys to make this a success. So, I'll need that. Okay, so there's a few things that you can do to interact, either during the talk or after the talk or any time. There's a hashtag, network of networks. There's a Facebook group. For those of you who are not connected to the internet, who don't really feel that's your way of communicating, there's a notice board up there, I think, somewhere. Oh, here it is. Well, you can have the opportunity to scribble up any thoughts that you've had, any ideas, anything that you want to contribute. That's your kind of outlet to do that. And then also there's going to be a workshop tomorrow that kind of follows on from what we're doing today and takes these ideas further into action. Okay, so a little bit about the Transition Network. I've been working there for the last 3 or 4 years. Before that, I used to volunteer in my local transition group. The Transition Network was set up in the UK, first of all, and it was essentially one community said we need to respond to the big issues of our time, like climate change and energy security, economic turmoil. We need to do that, but we need to do it as a community. The idea, the project, the proposals that they put forward were so popular that this was replicated in hundreds of communities throughout the UK. And we now have over 2,000 communities all around the world that are using this model in some way or another. So what exactly do people do? This is a community just, I think it's west of here, near Paris somewhere, and it's a transition community. And they're doing, I had a look at their website, I went through their Flickr feed, and they're doing the traditional things I think that transition groups will do. And to imagine what a transition group will do, I'd like you to try and imagine that you are responding to climate change yourself, and you've decided you've changed your light bulbs, you've put loft insulation up, you've shared your car, you've done all those things that you can do as an individual. And then you say, I want to do more. I want to go outside of my space, outside of my house. I want to change that community garden over there. I want to create a new transport system for my local community. And so what the Transition Network does is it provides lots of tools and enables you to do that. So it's about taking that sense of disempowerment and moving to a point of empowerment as community groups. So these are just the kind of things that the local transition group, one of the local transition groups are doing. And we see they have lots of projects to do with transport, to do with planting, sustainable building. Normally what a transition group would do would be to set up working groups. You'd have a food group, an energy group, a waste group, and they would autonomously decide what it is that's important to them, that they want to do in their community. So, and then they would go out and create those projects. This manifests in very different ways in each and every community. So after the Fukushima nuclear disaster in Japan, one of the transition groups, the people were feeling disempowered, literally feeling disempowered. And so they started to set up workshops where they would go and teach people how to do DIY renewable energy for their home. This became very popular across the entire country, and they were doing workshops every week. And it continued to grow to the point where they set up a community-owned renewable energy company. Now, there's hundreds of these within the Transition Network now, and throughout Japan, this was replicated in different sorts of places. Other ideas of where transition is different in different locations, This is one of the largest shanty towns, favelas in the world. It's in Sao Paulo. It's called Brasilândia. And what the transition group there is responding to is the fact that, poverty is the big issue. So the local community group, along with other NGOs, are responding by helping people of that area to set up social enterprises under cooperative models so they can work themselves out of poverty. Another example of different ways that transition groups can manifest. This is in Bristol. Quite a few transition groups have had a go at setting up their own local currency. And this is one where now the mayor of Bristol receives 100% of his salary in Bristol pounds. And you can pay taxes, you can take the bus, all with the Bristol pound. So there's lots of different kinds of areas where the transition groups have just done something completely different depending on the location. And it really does come into the we share sphere of interest. This is one transition group in Germany where they've set up a kind of tool sharing library. They basically have this free shop. So you bring stuff for free, people can take it away for free. But a lot of that stuff they said, hey, this could be reutilized again and again and again. So let's put this to the side. It's going to go into the library. You can log it out. You can use it if you need it. And that's the evolution of that project. So there's lots of different ways that transition manifests. And what I find is that there's 2,000 transition communities all over the world doing this. And for me, it's my world. It's an amazing project. It's an amazing thing. And then when I come to someone like WeShare and I say, hey, I'm with a transition network, and 1 in every 5 people go, wow, yeah, that's really cool. And the other 4 go, all right, okay, what do you do? And that reminds me of this story of the blind men and the elephant. Essentially, we're living in our little silos and our little groups, our spheres of interest, and we don't get to see the whole picture. So in this story of the elephant and the blind men, the guy at the back, he's holding it and he's saying, yes, it's a piece of string. And the guy at the front's holding it and saying, it's a knife. No, it's a spear. And so we really don't get to see the whole picture. And it's not just like technology type networks like WeShare not seeing the same things as environmental driven networks as the transition network. There really is the kind of charity networks and cooperative networks, and we're all operating in silos. Of course there's interactions, but there's not enough interactions. And that's where the kind of need, in my opinion, comes to bring in this kind of idea of networks of networks. We have to be able to see the whole picture. If we can't see the picture of what we're trying to create, then you can't build something if you don't know exactly what it is. So we have to be able to work together en masse, in massive collaboration, if we're really going to change the world. Luckily, we've done it before. This is not the first time, so we have history in working together en masse. Those of you who are a little bit older will remember in 2000, 1999 and 2000, there was the Battle of Seattle, where literally hundreds, if not thousands, of civil society, NGOs, anarchist groups, just the whole spectrum of civil society decided to collaborate together in a very autonomous way on a specific protest against the World Trade Organization. And this left us with this kind of incredible level of experience of how to work together, to self-organize, to have slightly different objectives, sometimes completely opposing objectives, but to collaborate under the same sort of banner, the same directions. So we have form. We've done this before. But one of the big things about the Battle of Seattle was that we realized that we didn't know what we were for. We were very, very easy for us to say we're anti-capitalist, anti the industrial machine or whatever. And then we stood there and said, well, what the hell are we for? And there was a real confusing process over the next few years where people set up something called the World Social Forum and again collaborated en masse, but could not work out exactly what they were for. And I have a reason for that. And the reason is we didn't have the prototypes. We didn't have the working examples. Back in 2000, we didn't have real-life examples of what we were trying to create. We had some, but very small amounts. Nowadays, for example, if you were trying to describe the sharing economy back in the year 2000, you would struggle. It would be an intellectual discussion. nowadays you can have a real engaging discussion about this is the way it could be, this is the things that are happening, and it's completely evolved. So we're in a completely different situation from what we were back in 2000. We now have working prototypes. So if we have a network of networks right now, then I think we're really ready for this, you know? We're no longer looking backwards at what we don't like. We're no longer fighting the system. We're looking forwards and saying, this is the world we want to build. And WeShare is a really good kind of example of that, because these collaborations that you guys are working on, these visionary projects that you guys are doing, is very much focused on this is the information economy, this is the networked economy, this is the age of communities. We're building this. And so I think we're at the right time. Just a quick look at us being in this right time, but from an evolutionary perspective. If you can imagine, we had the hunter-gatherer kind of economics for a very long period of time, maybe 100,000 years. Then we had agricultural economics for maybe 10,000 years. And then we had the industrial economics for the last couple of hundred years. We're now sitting on this, I don't know if you can see the red star there, we're now sitting on the cusp of the beginnings of the information economy. And we're sitting in this strange between worlds, and WeShare and people who are kind of affiliated with this kind of new technology movement are very much looking into that new world and saying, this is what we want to build. There's other reasons about, you know, the urgency, the environmental issues. There's other reasons about the fact that there's a lot of people despondent with the current economy. But right now is an amazing time for us to retry again the experiences that we've had in the past in building networks of networks. So these are lots of different other kinds of networks. If I had the time, I would talk about this kind of explosion we're going through. You know, in the year 2000, there was lots of projects being set up. In the kind of the teens, now they're turning into networks. People are replicating these projects, be it a co-working space, you know, there'll be 100 co-working spaces, and these are being replicated and becoming a kind of network of co-working spaces. So there's hundreds of these networks that have just been born in the last 5, 10 years. Okay, so now I want to go into a slightly more less traditional part of the talk. It's going to be interactive. I want to remind you of these different kinds of hashtags and ways that you can communicate at any point, but and also remind you there's going to be a continuation tomorrow. So I have a statement up there. I want you to have a look at that statement. Is everybody awake? Can you do me a favor? Can you all just stand up for a second? All right, that's good. Okay, you can sit back down again. That's it. It was just to make sure that you weren't lying when you said you were awake. All right, so I want to just sense the temperature of the room. I want you to put your hand up if you agree with that statement. Does it need clarifying, or is that quite clear? Take out the could. Could, okay, take out the could. I love your positiveness, yeah. So, okay. So some type of network of networks will be incredibly important. Do you agree with that statement? All right, so we have probably, I would say close to 70, maybe 80%, and I think the other 20 weren't listening. But we have a kind of unanimous belief that a network of networks will be important. Okay, so the next step in this process is, have a look at this statement. Do you know of any kind of network that you may be engaged with, or you just know about them, and you think, hey, they should be a part of a network of networks? This is the type of network that I think should be engaged in this. Put your hands up if you know a network that should be in there. All right, so we're doing pretty well with the kind of 50, 60, 70%. So you have a job now. Those guys who put your hand up, you know that everybody here, or most people here, think that this is important. So I think that you guys, if you know a network that should be engaged in a network of networks, if you have a Twitter feed, I would like you to go onto your Twitter feed, and I would like you to make up a tweet. It could be anything. What I want you to do is make a digital imprint using the hashtag network of networks, and also the @, whatever that network is. All right? So those of you who can do it, say something. You could say something like, hey, now is the time for a network of networks. You should be included, or something like this. So what we'll do is we're not kind of asking them to do a huge amount of stuff, But what we are trying to do is make this digital imprint so that we're kind of widening the net. We're going beyond this room and including other people in this discussion. Okay, next step. Is there anybody in this room now that is engaged in or working with a network of some kind? And that might be you've set up a project and your project's in the network, or you're engaged at the network level, or you're setting up some kind of currency that weaves together all your co-projects. Is anybody in this room engaged in a network in some way? All right, brilliant. That's really good. I'm going to ask that loud. Anyone else at the back? Worth a go. Are you engaged in a network? Brilliant. Okay, those of you who said yes will put your hands up. I'd like you to stand up. Okay, great. I'd like you to get on the stage, if you don't mind. If you're not too busy. You're probably writing the tweets or something, so... Brilliant. Okay. This is not just for those people who are engaged in networks. As anybody, when we talk about a network of networks, is there anybody in here that feels that they have something to contribute? If there was going to be this amazing project going forward to build a network of networks, do you feel you have something to contribute? You just don't want to get on the stage. You do feel it. You just don't want to get on the stage. I'm not going to make you do anything embarrassing, that's for sure. Okay, great stuff. Brilliant. Feel confident. If you're sitting there feeling quiet and thinking, I don't want to go on the stage, just get up here and do it. You might as well. Okay. Okay, so hopefully I can move on to the next slide. This is tricky now, is it? Okay, so we can see it here. There we go. Okay, so whenever I talk to people about this network of networks, the ideas of what a network of networks should do generally fall into three categories. It's either they should agree upon and deliver common objectives or projects. So that's kind of what the Battle for Seattle was. This network of networks decided, hey, let's on this day get together and do this thing. So that's the kind of thing that people think that a network of networks could do. Another thing that people say that a network of networks could do is this idea of agreeing on a kind of set of principles of what we should work towards and then signing up to it. And that's quite an easy access point. You know, it's easy for an organization to autonomously decide, I'm going to sign up to this group here because they've got principles that I agree with. And the last thing is to build a platform, a new language, a new way of communicating, some way to bring together that network of networks. So if you agree with 1, 2, or 3, you think that that's what a network of networks should do. If you agree with number 1, I'm going to tell you, and then do it afterwards. Wait until I finish. If you agree with number 1, I'd like you to move on to the left-hand side down here on the bottom there. If you agree with number 2, I'd like you to stay in the middle, and if you agree with number 3, onto the right. Is that clear? Is there any doubts? A doubt? You're ready to go? Okay. So, all right, wherever you feel is the most important objectives, move to your space. Don't worry about what everyone else is doing. Listen to the heart. So everybody, wait. So let me be clear. If you think that a network of networks should set up an objective, move over to the left-hand side. If you think that a network of networks should build a platform, move over to the right-hand side. Now, I mean move off the stage, literally off the stage. Like you have to make that commitment and jump off into the different space. All right. I was kind of hoping that it wouldn't be so even. There was potentially, I was hoping there was going to be a real kind of difference. So this is tricky. Is there anybody who feels that they should move places? We can't do everything. Let's imagine, okay, let's prioritize. We can't do everything. If you was to say, let's do one thing, what would it be?
Knowledge
Knowledge sharing. All right, okay. So what have we got? We've got 2, 4, 6, 8. Okay, so I'm going to leave it to you guys. I think that a network of networks should have a set of principles. You know, either way, we've got to have a set of principles. So this is a guaranteed. So I would like you to choose a different place. We guarantee we have to have a set of principles. I'd like you to choose a different place. Do you think we should have a shared objective or a shared platform? Damn. Okay. Brilliant. We're looking at maybe 65% over there and 35% over there. I'd like to ask you guys, do you object to a network of networks setting up a shared platform? Does anybody feel that it's absolutely the wrong way to go? So there's no objections. So I believe in consensus, this would be a good place to start. If we're using some kind of wacky consensus, I believe there's been no objections and there's been a general majority over here that we should set up a platform of some description. Okay, what I want you to do now, just for the last step, first of all, I think we should kind of celebrate this moment, because I think that we've just made a decision, first of all, what we think that a network of networks should do. But I also would like you to say, if you think you've got something to contribute to this platform, this language, whatever it is, I'd like you to stay on the stage. Yeah, right now. I think if you think, I don't have the time, I'm too busy, this is your moment to get down. If you think you've got something real to contribute to this idea, then I would like you to stay up here. Yeah. That's amazing. I was hoping for like 50-50. Are you sure? Are you really sure? Okay, this is your opportunity. You can, I've got 50,000 projects and I can't do another one. If that's your mindset, I really understand it. I do. This is the reality of today. All right, so brilliant. This is amazing. We've got a huge group of people, probably one of the best groups of people to start this kind of project. So what I'd like to ask you to do, who's a good organizer? Somebody, I would like you to take the responsibility now for connecting details of all these people. And what do you think we should do? This is up to you guys. What do you think we should do? What should be the next step? We've got a meeting tomorrow. Yeah? You want to do that? I'm trying to a certain extent, hand over different, step back a little bit. But so we've got a meeting tomorrow where we're going to have workshops, which is from ideas to action. We made a decision. And but I also think we can maybe arrange a hangout, Google Hangout or something, for those people who won't be able to come tomorrow. So would anybody like to collect up the cards of everybody here and arrange that Google Hangout? Yeah? But we need the cards. We need the connections. Or we've got this. You can write your details up on the back there if you want. Yeah, you could do that. You can leave your card there. And also, I think tomorrow can be a big stepping stone in starting to do whatever it is we think a network of networks should do. So I want to leave you with one final slide. It's going to be tricky, but I want to leave you with one final thought, and that is that's okay. I want to leave you with one final thought, and that is a very famous thought, but it's I think appropriate for right now, and that is, if not now, then when? If not us, then who? Let's just get on and do it. I'm fed up with talking, let's do it.